She's a hater. Don't let her be a hater, Reggie. Don't let her be a hater. I plan on going out in a blaze of glory, but not while I'm riding Reggie. I'm gonna be riding something a little bit nicer than I do. Okay?
Because you have standards.
I have standards. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have a running today. Welcome back to Luke's Motor Shop Backyard Edition. We're at my place in Toronto in the backyard, and unfortunately, this past weekend, I was ripping up Sturt Road with a friend of mine, Conrad, and just going wide open with Reggie for too long. Down this beautiful dirt road into a field, just wide open the whole time, and I overheated Reggie, and now it's pretty locked up. So I got to do the top end, pull the piston out, check it out, and replace it. So I'll be popping the head off, taking the cylinder out. Hopefully the cylinder's okay. Hopefully the bottom end is okay. And this actually gives me an opportunity to check if it has the big bore kit that the seller said that it has. So I'll be taking care of that. It's not a hard operation. I'm going to do it with the most basic tools possible. And I'll show you guys how to take care of it. Definitely something you can do on your own in your backyard. So let's get into it and start tearing this thing down. So what I'm going to start with is the top engine mount, the spark plug, and the water neck. And once I'm done all those, then I'll start getting into everything else. And I'm just using a pretty basic tool set, sockets, wrenches, etc. So I'll see if I have enough in here to get this done. So this set actually only comes with a couple wrenches, a 10mm, a 12mm, and a 14mm. So hopefully I have enough in here to get this done. All right, let's do it. All right, so I got the exhaust off and the top engine mount. So now I'm gonna go after the water neck and the spark plug. All right, so here's the spark plug. I don't know how well it's gonna show up. There's a little bit of buildup on it, a little bit of carbon buildup. It looks like it's running okay, maybe a little lean, but I think that's because I have a leak in the carburetor boot here that I just noticed. So I'll, while I'm this deep, I'm gonna put a new spark plug in it anyhow, but I think it was actually running okay. I probably just overheated it. Anyhow, let's keep going. So I got the cylinder head off. Looks really clean. I don't think the guy was joking about doing some work on it recently, because it looks like it's in great shape. So now I'm going to take this. What am I going to do now? Now I'm going to take the power valve off, and then the cylinder, and then I'll be able to get at the piston. Now that I have the head off and the spark plug out, I'm going to try and roll the back wheel while it's in gear to see if the piston does move. Just see what's going on. The piston's moving freely now, which is a little bit strange. There may have been another issue, but what I'm going to do is I'm still going to take the cylinder off to check it off, because it's another 4 bolts to do it. It's very basic. I'm already this far, I might as well do it. But the piston, it was locked up before. It would not roll over, but now, let's see if I can get this. The piston's moving freely. It feels really good. So, you know what, I'm going to take the cylinder off. I'm going to take the cylinder off. Okay, so I got it all apart here. Honestly, the piston looks fine. The ring looks fine. The cylinder looks fine. There's connecting rod is feeling really good. It's not too loose or anything, so I'm actually just gonna put this thing back together and see if it fires back up again, because it doesn't look like there's anything that's wrong with this. All right, so it's the next day. I did a little bit of research last night, and what I think I'm gonna do is just reassemble the engine, get the cylinder back on and the head back on. I'm not exactly sure why it locked up, but it's doing great now. So first thing I'm gonna do is remake the gasket that goes onto this surface here. So I just got a sheet of gasket material from Canadian Tire. So I'm going to remake the gasket, get it installed, get the cylinder installed, and just go from there and see if I can get this running. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so this gasket pack comes with a few different types and thicknesses of gaskets. So this one here, this gray one, is the closest to the original gasket. There's two quart gaskets, one thin and one thick, and this other synthetic one that's a little bit thicker. But the gray one is very similar to the original one in thickness, so I'm going to be using this one to make the gasket for the cylinder head. Alright, so it is the next evening. I finished making the gasket for the cylinder last night, so now I'm going to go in reverse, get everything reassembled, get the cylinder back on by carefully putting the piston back inside it, and then reassemble the head. I'll be testing at each step to make sure that it's still rolling over properly, and hopefully I'll have this bike back on the road for the weekend. So first things first, let's get the cylinder back on. Hey?
How's it coming along?
Good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Almost done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
You don't. You don't. You hate. She hates.
I'm gonna sip on that haterade.
She does. She hates. She hates it. She's a hater. She's a hater. Don't let her be a hater, Reggie. Don't let her be a hater. Alright, so I got a linkage here connected back up again. So now it's time for the high temp silicone, the cover, that rubber piece, and the gasket, and we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna leave that silicone to dry overnight before, because I was gonna fire it up tonight, but I'm gonna leave it till tomorrow to fire it up. So right now I'm just gonna focus on getting the head back on, getting the water connections done, and but first I am gonna put it in gear, roll it over, see if the piston's going up and down okay. But pretty close to firing it back up again. And you know what? Even if this cover here still leaks, it's a 1986. The whole point of Reggie is that he's a ripper. If he's leaking a little bit, it's okay. It's managing expectations. It's managing what this bike really is. And it's just a cheap, fun dirt bike where, you know, it might leak a little bit, and that's all right. So let's get the head back on, get the water connections done, and I'll be able to fire this thing up tomorrow. All right, let's do it. Alright, so last night I got the head on, got the exhaust flange on, and a few of the other little bits and pieces, the hoses and the spark plug and the whatever. So now, last thing I gotta do is get the exhaust back on, and then I'm gonna test fire the bike, make sure it's running okay now that I did all these changes, and it's gonna be done, which is pretty exciting because I'm heading up north tomorrow, and really wanted to bring this bike with me. So I did it, we hit it, Reggie's ready to rip, we're gonna go. So let's get back into it, get this exhaust on, and get it fired up. Okay, Reggie's all back together. Time to start him up, see if he runs. And I'm not gonna run it for too long. I'm in a pretty dense residential neighborhood here. So I'm just gonna fire him up, make sure he starts and runs. And then I'll be good to go for tomorrow. I don't really have a lot of space considering it's bump start only, so I'm gonna have to start from over there and come this way and see what happens. So here we go, let's get him fired up. Well, at this point here, it's pretty depressing. I tried again and again to bump start Reggie in the backyard and then out on the street. I got it to kind of fire up a little bit, enough to give me a little bit of hope, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't happening. So after bump starting it a bunch of times, I thought I just needed a bit more space. All right, well, and decided to bring him up to the cottage. It's just hard on the street with cars going by and everything. So I don't know if I'm gonna bring him up north. All right, so I'm up at a friend of mine's cottage, brought the bike up with me. So I'm gonna get Reggie off the truck, see if he fires up. If it does, take it for a test run up and down the street, and then hopefully hit some trails this weekend too. So I'm gonna get him off the truck and see how it goes. Oh, well, so here we go again. I'm still in denial about this bike actually starting up. It still didn't go well trying to bump start it here. And this was pretty ideal conditions for it to start. I got it to kind of want to start a little bit, but at this point I knew there was something wrong with it and eventually gave up trying to start it. And just loaded it back on the truck and brought it to the shop to check out what was going on. Well, it seems like something's locking up the rear end. I can't get it going. I can't even get it to really turn over. So, shit. I don't think I'm gonna have him running today. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have it running today. Oh well. All right, so I got the bike up on the table there. I picked up a bunch of parts off of Facebook Marketplace. A lot of the parts it's a mix of 125 and YZ80 parts, like this whole area that came out of this basket here is from this YZ80, but there are some 125 parts mixed in, like this Kickstarter shaft, which I needed. So I'm gonna start with opening up the clutch to figure out why the engine's locking up. It's probably something in there. And then once I figure out if it's worth fixing the bike or not, I'll either, start getting into rebuilding the engine, or I might just sell the whole thing off because I have too many projects right now and not really interested in rebuilding a bike that's kind of this much of a piece of shit. But I'm gonna open it up, see what's going on inside, and go from there. All right, so unfortunately, I got the clutch cover off here, and Reggie definitely has some bottom end problems. So here, I'll show you right here. This is basically what connects to the crank there. Let's see, it's even hard. So right when the crank is to the bottom, it's really hard to turn. It's got a lot of, it's just not feeling good. So, unfortunately, this bike is definitely not worth pulling the engine and doing a full bottom end rebuild on it. I mean, the forks leak, the front tire is absolute trash. The bearings for the back need to be redone, and just, you know, overall, it's a really rough bike. So I had fun the few times that I got to ride it, but you know, I'm just gonna sell it. Hopefully I recoup most of my money and move on to something else. I'll also be able to sell all these parts here. I got a really good deal on it. I'll probably be able to actually get a profit from these parts. There's also, you know, the body parts, and then a rolling chassis, like a YZ125 rolling chassis. So I'll put all that stuff back up on Facebook Marketplace and or in Kijiji or whatever, and you know, cut my losses. That's fine though. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. This bike just happened to be kind of a piece of shit, so gonna cut my losses and go from there. All right, well, thank you very much for watching. That's gonna be it for Reggie. I think, you know what, just gonna abandon the whole thing. See you guys later. Appreciate you guys watching. So this is how the new owner came to pick up the bike in his Mazda 3 here. I ended up selling it for 650 bucks, which I lost a little bit of money on the rear tire and the other parts, but the memories of this are priceless, so still worth it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one.